It must be the dark markets bring them out. It seems to brought all you out. A lot busier than it was last week, I seem to recall. So nice to see you all. Tonight, we've got Chris, who's going to shed some light on the dark market. I'd like to thank Louis for that line. What a great line, isn't it? Of course, I've just come to find out how to become a drug kingpin on the dark markets, as I'm sure you all have too. And hopefully, you're going to tell us that, right, Chris? Cool, there we go, right. Well, without any further ado, please give a warm welcome, Chris Monteiro.
Cheers. Cool, thanks for coming, everybody. Okay, so this is a bit of an odd presentation for me. I research a number of areas. I do cybercrime and carding, which I do in a separate presentation. And today I'm mashing together two topics that are tangentially related, but it should be of interest. So I'm going to be talking about dark web urban legends as well as darknet markets, because people have no idea what you can and cannot buy on the internet and make up all sorts of shit. And if you want to advocate Bitcoin, you have to understand what is real and what isn't. You can buy your magic internet money. Okay, what have we got? Okay, this is who I am. I am a cybercrime, dark web, and internet security researcher. This encompasses all sorts of stuff, depending on what you want to do. My job day job is a systems administrator. I do activism. I'm a pirate and digital rights activist. I'm also a futurist, which means many things, if you want to talk to me about that. And what I've actually done in many areas over the last years, I'm a prolific Wikipedian. So I've written up a lot about the history of the darknet markets, urban legends, and various information you get there out in dribs and drabs. Because you don't have time to read information for every single blog, every single security research, and find out what is going on and what's been disproven. And by putting together, you get a wonderful overview of things. And this is what I do. And I blog about this, and I give talks about this, and do interviews now. So I'm also wanting to do this elsewhere. So let me know if you're interested. Cool, and this is my blog, if you want to check me out, pirate.london, and I have Twitter @DekuStrub, and you can find me obviously talking about credit card fraud and carding, and everything I'm talking about here is fully referenced on my blog and my sources, so I'm not going to be telling you exactly which paper or exactly which source I got it from there, but it is there if you want to find out more. And yes, and if anyone here is from the Albanian Mafia, I'm so sorry, please don't kill me. This is relevant. Okay. Disclaimer. It's very important when you're talking about cybercrime to give the disclaimer. Please do not do these things. Please don't go on the internet and purchase drugs. And if you do, please don't go say Chris told you to do it. This is very important because I am just a humble researcher here. And it's very easy to do, so you wouldn't want people to get the wrong idea. Okay, off we go. First off, okay, terminology, right? So I'm going to talk about the dark web. You may have heard about the deep web. This is a real point of contention for me. In 2009, there was a Guardian article, and they talked about Freenet and deep web search in the same article. They talked about criminality and drugs you can get on Freenet at the time. That was the dark web or darknet of the choice at the time. And they talked about deep web search. The two have very little to do with each other, apart from the fact at the time you couldn't index Freenet. Now, this caused a whole bunch of problems because when in 2011 the Silk Road came to prominence, people started using deep web with the Silk Road. And people started saying, the deep web is 95% of the internet, and you can buy drugs there, and what else can you buy there? And it's all this hidden stuff, and it's full of UFOs, conspiracies, and government secrets and stuff. And all this sort of really broken terminology. And so I will always use dark web, never deep web. Deep web is a broken term. And yes, so when I say dark web today, I'm talking about the Tor deep web, the Tor dark web, rather. And let's talk about what we find it in it. I actually run a forum called Deep Web. It's all about urban legends for this, where people come into really, really bizarre ideas and insist they're true, and I shoot them down. But sometimes they tell interesting stuff too. It's really fun. Okay, so yes, this is the sort of stuff I research, which I'm not going into details today. Human hunting, human trafficking, there's a haunted computer game called Sad Satan, and people trying to buy things off the internet, like exotic pets and pesticide-resistant bed bugs. These are things people really ask for, and if you ask some people, they will insist it really exists. And you can buy a Bitcoin, of course, it's on the internet. But yes, the meme was, in 2011, it was the marketplace where you can buy anything, or buy any drug imaginable, right? That's what it was. And darknet markets and the Silk Road pretty much are. They have a massive selection of drugs. But this morphed, just like the idea of the internet the dark web being 95% of the internet, into you can buy anything on the dark web. You really can't, but people will insist on this. So, this is what my main topics today. Fact or fiction? Well, we can find out today. Hitmen. We'll find about that. And we'll talk about live stream murder, fun times. And we're going to talk about Bitcoin services and scams and the drugs. So, as I said, this presentation mixes fact with fiction, but I should be clear what I'm talking about. So, if you have any confusion at the end, please ask me any questions. Okay. First of all, hitman. So, since 2011, many reports in the mainstream media picks up on these little sites where people are saying, look, there are people, assassins advertising services, hitman services, and you pay via Bitcoin, and it's on Tor, and it's an onion dress, so it must be real, right? Because you can't so easily disprove it. And of course, the media being the media would run with this and say, yes, killers on the deep web, it's the disturbing way of the play of the deep web, who can like drugs and murderers. But you can't, they're not real. And not many people, a lot of people who covered this, from Wired to various tech publications, etc., reporting it as fact. And very few people went back at this and actually debunked this and proved it wasn't true. So this is one of my hobbies, is actually is winding up these services and showing that they're not true. And it's quite a lot of data you can put together. So yes, people go on the internet and tell lies. So here's two popular services. This one's been around for a while, called Cthulhu. No, sorry, not Cthulhu, sorry, Cthulhu and Hitman Network. So Cthulhu is basically, it has a variety of services, including maiming, bombing, crippling, and murder, and is apparently run by members of the French Foreign Legion. It really isn't. That site was knocked up in about a couple of hours, and they put a BitMessage address there, and people were reporting it as fact for ages. Nothing has ever been associated with that, but you will see that cited again and again and again as being true. It really isn't. Hitman Network is a similar thing. I'm going to talk, obviously, later I'm going to talk about the actual Darknet markets. It tries to emulate the Darknet markets in that you can log in and you can find a range of assassins for your purposes. Do you want someone with a sniper, someone who wants to do close work with knives? You know, anything's available for you at a full price. It's just a scam to take your bitcoins. It really is. But, people are scared of talking about this thing because they think, what if it's real? It's not real. Okay. These guys hate me. Bisa Mafia, this is the Albanian Mafia. They have infographics and everything. And they said, it can't be a scam because we use multisig. Really? No. You are the guys providing the multisig for your alleged guys multisig. That is not how multisig works. You have to have a chain of trust, you have to have multiple lines of verifiability, and you have to have forums. You can't just say, we have multiple sig and therefore not a scam. Anyway, on my blog you can see me arguing back and forth with these guys, and they're convinced I work for the police now, so it's really fun. Yeah, these guys really hate me. But no, this is just another scam. It's like, they say put together pictures of hitman with their eyes pixelated out. It's like, oh yes, we're anonymous. And it's like, this is not how it works. So, but there are lots of scams on this, and people really believe them. Lots of people believe them. This has actually only been around for a couple of weeks now, this one. The charity for Donald Trump's assassination. So this one is a bit more tongue-in-cheek. No one's actually supposed to believe it's real. But if you scroll to the bottom, you'll find a Bitcoin address there, and you'll find it has no donations. But, it exists. This is a genuine site. But no, will people actually kill him with this? I don't think so. But there is another site I'm going to talk about in a minute, which is more interesting. It's topical. Summary. So the site security doesn't hold up. Lots of these have lots of technical flaws. They're not run by hardened criminals. They're run by people running Ubuntu. They give flawed anonymity device. They don't talk.
Criminals run Windows.
Yeah, I know. I run Windows. I'm a Windows system administrator. They give flawed anonymity device because they want to talk about running tumblers, anonymity, and throwaway addresses and obfuscating metadata. They just want to say, give us your email, give us your bitcoins. Of course. And that's how you can tell they're not real, because they don't actually do what the actual Darknet markets do. They have loads of fake testimonials saying, this is a serious site. And it's like, no, you just registered 5 minutes ago and trying to back up the other guy who registered 5 minutes ago. It doesn't work like that. There's, of course, no reported incidents of this. You will not find on the internet a report of anyone ever being killed by a hitman off the internet. You'll find dozens of reports of people trying to buy hitmen off the internet and being arrested, and I've compiled them all. And it's a wonderful article called Internet Assassination. So people buying off Facebook, you can't have people killed. Craigslist, you can't have people killed. You really can't kill people via the internet. But I have to emphasize this because people will tell me that I'm wrong. They will insist that you can. I say, where's your proof? It's like, proof? Where's your proof that it's not real? I say, here. I said, then people deny it. Okay. And of course, they want money up front and they have no transparency or secondary verification. Crowdfunding assassination. This is actually quite interesting, this one. Right, so this one does actually not fall over in the theory. So, I don't know if anyone here knows, crypto guys, a guy in the mid-90s called Jim Bell. So he produced about 1995, Jim Bell, arch-libertarian, proposed the idea of an assassination marketplace. He said that, well, being a libertarian, like politicians, the only way to keep them honest is the ever-present threat of assassination hanging over their heads. Yeah, fair point. I'm not even going to say he's not even wrong. So the idea, he hypothesized back in 95 there were a way of anonymously donating money and paying out in an assassination. This would actually, in fact, give us democracy and, free the people. I can give you a copy of the site in a minute if you're really interested. It's on my blog. But, the only place it's on in the internet is on my blog right now because it's gone down. It's an interesting theory, and it's not even a bad theory. So someone made in the loosest time, they made this site in 2013, and it's picked up by Andy Greenberg of Wired, it's picked up by all the newspapers saying, wow, they've made a crowdsourced assassination marketplace. And what's interesting about this one, they're very transparent about their Bitcoin addresses. They had about 180 Bitcoin in their transparent address. That's a lot of money put together. And so I found this before it hit the news. This is something you don't want to do. And I posted on my Facebook saying, oh my God, it's only $15,000 to kill Obama. What the fuck? And this is the sort of thing you should get you on the lists, okay? Don't post this on Facebook. So I've done this. So I'm on the, I'm probably going to hopefully travel to America later this year. Who knows? We'll see. But it was picked up by the press, so I'm probably okay, probably. This is a screenshot of what, oops. Where's one of my slides? Okay, so this is how it apparently works, right? So you have various actors here, so various nefarious people I dislike here, and they pay money into the wallets. You have your guy running the market here, and he's busy looking at filling up. And then you have your so-called assassin, and he basically places a prediction, which is basically done via, he basically places a hash to prove his identity against, this person will be killed at such and such a date, and when a person's killed, they can basically send another prediction with the same hash and thus prove their identity, and then Dr. Evil pays out the money. That's the idea. It's not even a flawed idea, it actually could work. It's not real, but the theory is sound. It's actually a prediction market, so it is it's an interesting theory. But no one has ever done this yet, despite what people will tell you. So this is an example. So he got a large bounty on his head for 124 bitcoins. On my blog, you can see all the major people who got their addresses, and you can also see that the 40,000 quid, 188 bitcoins, has not moved since 2013. Right, this is the important point, right? No one ever paid money into this. No one ever paid money out. There is no action, and the site's been down since 2014. Basically, someone got in the ground with Bitcoin, said, I know what I'll do. I'll put my money into this thing, fund it with my own money, and then people will say, look at me, I've made an assassination market. But they haven't. So I pulled down the data off an obscure market scrape and put it together and found out that it hasn't moved. And this is what it actually looks like. It's this. It's the same bloke basically giving himself most money and saying, welcome to my assassination market. It's like, well done. But you have to credit the guy. He was innovative, and it was a valid model. But no one was ever killed. No money was ever gathered. No money was ever paid out. There is no assassination market. But, there we go. And the important thing is, huge amounts of people are convinced there are. Absolutely convinced, because no one has ever gone to the press and saying assassination markets on the internet are fake, because everyone's really embarrassed about when they went on the internet and saying assassination markets are real. So there we are. So this is so pervasive. So I'm not going to go too much in the history of the Silk Road, but Russ Ulbricht, the proprietor of the Silk Road, he believes internet assassins are real. And when he tried to hire an assassin of the internet to have his people killed, oh no, it was the FBI. And they sent him back pictures of the people killed. And he was scammed. So even Russ Ulbricht, you think you know better, you can't hire assassins on the internet. You really can't. I have an idea about this, about doing a crowd-funded custard pies to the face. I really think it could work, but now I've mentioned this, I can't actually do this, but I would probably pay money into such a thing. The theory is sound, though no one's done it yet. Okay, on to my next urban legend here. So if people go away full of more urban legends rather than more skepticism, I've really not done my job well here. The idea is that people go away and feel, they're more informed and they're more skeptical. They go around thinking about these things are real. I don't know. So, have you ever clicked a link on the internet and wish you hadn't? Have you ever seen something you wish you could unsee? And, this is a thing on the internet, I'm sure people here have heard of a thing called goatsea, cannot unsee. What's the logical conclusion of this? The logical conclusion of this, and from a psychological point of view, is what if you went to a website and you saw people being killed in real time, all right? People are convinced this exists. So this has a long history in our media and in our culture. So fans of Videodrome, 1983, people tuning in to the radio station where they can find people being tortured, and it's like, ooh, wow, it's really scary. What if static turns to something scary, Or, I don't know. For me, it was just pornography back in the time, but, whatever. It really taps into the technological anxiety of the time, tuning into that sort of stuff. So this was done explicitly in 2010, where this is a Japanese director, British film, not very popular, but I really like it, called Chat Room. So this has the idea of what if there's a chat room on the internet you can go and you can see people being killed? Wouldn't that be really scary? But also, wasn't really, really fascinating? No, well, yeah. I think that's more of what you went on the internet and you saw dicks. I'll be honest, that's what I hear. So but yeah, this is a genuine fear and intrigue. It ties into real psychological ideas we have, and there's even more. There was a famous Japanese animation called Verebrum, whereby people. This is a Japanese for "Do you like?" and it popped up, and it was sort of It was an alt reality type thing where when you see it, you die in 7 days, like The Ring or something like that. And then notoriously, there was a girl who played this game, and she went and stabbed like a 10-year-old girl, and she went and stabbed her classmates. And then this became notorious in Japanese culture because it was related tangentially to this. So that's an interesting thing. So I call the modern day idea of a red room is what I call snuff films for the YouTube generation, right? Snuff films also don't exist. People will yell at me and say, they do exist. They don't exist. There's no evidence whatsoever. By the FBI's definition, no one has ever been killed primarily for profit. This has never happened. And people will completely say, I'm wrong. I was like, Snoped. People get well, if you exclude marriage, then you don't voluntarily get killed for profit. We'll see. Yes. That's how I play The Sims, actually. It's quite good. So there's this feeds into a number of sort of trains of thoughts and feelings here, for example, in 2015, I don't know if anyone knows here, there was an autoplay feature on Facebook and Twitter. So there's this horrible gunman who went and killed some people, and then thanks to autoplay on Facebook and Twitter, people got to see minutes later people being killed. Well, thanks autoplay. They fixed that eventually, whatever. That's not very good. The final example happened in summer 2015, and this is why I had enough of it and said about debunking it. So people said, we're going to kill people on the internet and it's going to be scary. And then they just put up a picture of a guy with some bacon in the end, and they put a fake FBI takedown notice. Because it's bullshit. I'm sorry. This is not a real thing. But psychologically, as a culture, we think it's a real thing because we have anxieties about. We worry about what do I see on the internet. I don't like to see gore and death on the internet, but what if you did? And what is out there? And then a lot of psychological studies have shown that people are more accepting and seek out these things so they can get a sense of mental closure. I've done the whole psychology research, and it's really interesting. Now, but why is it not real? So again, the Tor technology doesn't support it. If anyone knows anything about Tor, multicast video streaming is next to impossible. You can't do it. It really does show a lot about our relationship with technology. I mean, just look at the emerging torture porn genre, and people want to believe, they want to find it. The idea is in their head, it can't easily be disproved, therefore they go to seek it out. Again, I run a popular forum where they do this all the time, and I tell them no, and they don't believe me, so there you go. And the thing about this, though, is that it extends, and this is why it's maybe more tangentially related to Bitcoin. People are convinced they don't understand Tor, but don't understand Bitcoin. So they're convinced you find a red room, and then you pay money in Bitcoin, because it's untraceable like that, and then you pay that to interactively torture people. Of course you don't, but people really believe this. I'm talking significant amounts of people. I'm sorry to say, people on YouTube, it's not the highest bar for intelligence, but I'm talking hundreds of thousands, millions of people believe that Bitcoin is used to kill people live on the internet. It really isn't. But if you want to have real conversations about this, you need to counter these things. That's why I feel that this is relevant to this discussion. And people don't get it. I mean, it is complicated. Okay, enough about that. So, Bitcoin scams. So, I know lots of Bitcoin scams. If you follow cybercrime on the dark web, it's mostly a lot of that. So, double your Bitcoins. You can do mini Ponzi schemes. They were quite fun. So, you can pay a small amount of Bitcoin in, double Bitcoin out. A large amount of Bitcoin in, double Bitcoin out. A proper amount of Bitcoin in, silence. So, yeah, they're really easy to run. They're not very popular anymore because, of course, you have to go around shilling them and saying that they're real, etc., saying that I found this exploit for the blockchain, but I'm not going to use it for myself because of reasons. Used to be very popular until it's not so much of a thing anymore. Fake tumblers and clone sites, however, are amazingly popular and automated, and I seem to know the people who run it now, which is kind of worrying. But there you go. So this is how... So I've done an interview with a bloke who called himself Scam of the Darknet, who basically did these scams, and he did these clone scams. So here's a look. So this is our guy, cyber criminal, as you know. And so how did it work? So yeah, there's two guys who knows it. One was didn't originate it. A guy called Live in the Darknet. This is his handles, and another guy called Crime Wave, who ran the latter one called Rotten Onions. And the gist is quite simple. You vandalize all the dodgy indexes, like hidden wikis, forums, etc. You say, this is my Tumblr, this is my Darknet market, this is my blog, etc. You put in your site, which is basically either cloning or proxying the site, and then you basically siphon off the Bitcoins. It's really easy to do and really profitable. And it suffers a lot from the Tor addressing schema that onion addresses aren't memorable. So I'm going to talk about later how to find reliable sites on the dark web, and by reliable sites I mostly mean drugs, I'll be honest. But if you go searching randomly for darknet websites and sites for Bitcoin, the chances are you will come across one of these. I mean, in Operation Anonymous at the end of 2014, they made a big song and dance about we've taken down 101 darknet markets and terrorist websites. They took down the fake terrorist websites and left the real ones up. They really just because they all these clone sites everywhere, and there's nothing to do, and it's really difficult to regulate. Apart from with things, so that's the fiction. On to the fact. So I hope this is more contrast, but I think it's interesting too. So anonymized markets actually exist. For some reason, I have no idea why. I've become like the world's experts on this. This is what happens when you write Wikipedia a lot and you consult with the academics and you publish faster than they can publish. So yeah, I'm going to talk about how the ecosystem works and stuff like that. So again, this is not going to be Silk Road centric. Other people have talked to Silk Road a lot, but it's worth bearing in mind that darknet markets, drug markets, have existed on Tor before Silk Road. There was something called the Farmers Market, and they used PayPal and Western Union, and they got shut down. Surprise, surprise. So but people were experimenting with it. These drugs on the internet have been around since the really early days. I've written a complete history of selling drugs on the internet. You can find it on the Wikipedia page, Darknet Markets. It's really cool. Silk Road, however, set the standard with the Tor and Bitcoin escrow mix with reputation system, and nearly all the sites since then have followed that model with some additions, who I'll go into a minute. And of course, I'm sure people here know the history of decentralized alternate payment systems, so eGold, Liberty Reserve, all used by criminals and scammers because they could, and now they use Bitcoin. So. Again, some people say, "Oh, that means it's not legitimate and Bitcoin's a scam." And I say, "No, this proves that Bitcoin works, and it's really, maybe not a popular thing for the room here, but seriously, people say it doesn't even work and it's just a Ponzi scheme and it's not reliable." I say it's one of the biggest reliable economies for years on the darknet now. So you just wake up. So this is sorry about this. The screen's not very, very well presented. This is me trying to break down a history a bit by infographic. So this is me. This is all the markets we have today. This is the history of the Silk Road here at the bottom. Launched 2011, and you see towards the end of 2013 they shut it down. And of course you see at the end of 2013, there were no drugs on the internet anymore. So as you can see, what happened after that is. Yes, dozens and dozens of more sites were launched. There's a code going on here, basically, for the live sites, hack sites, rape sites, scam sites, and the sites that voluntarily close. So they created a huge proliferation in websites. Now, people do get nostalgic and say, they don't have the same sort of libertarian credentials going on there. Some of them are run by carders and other crooks we don't like. But there's lots of them. The free market economics are available. What happened at this point here, though, was at 2014, again, Operation Anonymous, where various law enforcement agencies said, we have had the largest ever operation against Tor. We shut down 101 darknet markets. They shut down about 5, and including and then there was the clones. And of course, once again, they've wiped out drugs on the internet. No. So here we are today. This is not even up to date anymore. This is actually summer 2015. I haven't updated it since. So yeah, there are dozens upon dozens of sites right now. There's wonderful dramas going on the rise and falls. Is such and such a scam? Is such and such good? This is my soap opera I just watch. So yes, there's been good times and bad. There's always interesting. So this is more my original research. So this I haven't seen anywhere else. So this is how darknet markets work. So in a context, you don't just have a market. I'm going to talk about the market's work later. The market exists within an ecosystem, and it has various actors in it. So let's see how it goes. Oh yes, this is my highly scientific terms of legal, dodgy, and illegal. I am not a lawyer, but we'll see how it goes. So on the left, we have, this is where I live most of the time, journalists, bloggers, and researchers, and Wikipedia, because Wikipedia, in my opinion, is the definitive index of darknet markets, which I've written by me. So there you go. It's really, really good. So you can find definitive histories, all about the markets, all about interim services. So when I say I cite my sources, it's mostly either my blogs or my Wikipedia, and they too are cited, so it is pretty good. Yes, so I'm not going to go into too much detail on this because I get a lot of my information from here. But Reddit is swarming with cybercrime, including the largest forum for target markets on the internet. It's full of dramas and shilling and people exit scamming and people saying, oh, what I shipped, I never got this, and this person's a scammer and this person's a fraudster. And it's just I'm munching popcorn. It's wonderful. Deep.web, I've written for these guys, so slightly dodgy website, is one of the definitive sources of dark web news you can find on the internet, who do market reviews, market interviews, and dark web news of this area. So highly recommend if you're interested in reading this, though again a lot of the pertinent information I cite on Wikipedia and easier narratives, but these guys are at the forefront of reporting. There's an interesting service you may not know. Gram Search was launched a few years ago. They said it's the Google for drugs. It's not quite that. It's a search engine with a bunch of bots which is integrated into the main markets, and you can basically do a multi-market search for various drugs. But you don't need to, really. You can go to the largest markets, and they have everything. And by everything, I mean everything. We'll be talking in a minute. But Gram's, not wanting to... So Gram's not even necessarily illegal. Necessarily, it's hard to say. They also have a service called Infodesk. So this is very similar to like the MIT key server or another identity service. So drug dealers will basically put their usernames, their PGP keys, their contact details on Infodesk. And if one of the markets is ever shut down or raided or scammed or anything like that, they can say, right, I was listing on this market at such and such, and I had this feedback, and I want to list on this market and keep my reputation, and here's my proof because I was on my same PGP keys from Infodesk. So this creates a huge amount of resilience for the main vendors, and if ever they ever get raided, I think they'll probably find every single dark dealer on the internet. But they're based on the dark web, so maybe they won't. And possibly it's not even legal what they do. Who knows? But it's interesting because when you can't seize them and you can't take them down, it doesn't really matter if they're legal or illegal because they exist. They're part of this ecosystem. Right at the bottom, you have the main markets and vendor shops. So vendor shops have become more popular because you can be known as the best person for selling cannabis or selling heroin or selling MDMA, etc., etc. And it's like, actually, I can just build myself a little shop because I've got my reputation and I'm on Graham's Infodesk and I've got all these wonderful reviews on Reddit. And Deep.web has done an interview with me and I've been cited on Wikipedia. And so you can run your own shop. So it's getting so popular that people are cutting out the middlemen and running dedicated operations as well as the main markets. So this is a big, huge growth area as well. Next, forums. Yes, we have forums, everything. So Reddit is one of them, but you have dedicated forums talking about drugs, sourcing, links, reviews, hookups. I think there's a wonderful dead drop GPS service I found recently. It's not very popular, but just people always trying new things around this ecosystem, seeing what will work and what won't. Bitcoin, everywhere there is Bitcoin. And you have to accept this, don't deny this. Everything from using blockchain.info at the far left, through to using local Bitcoins to anonymize your payments in cash or through more untraceable means, through to the dark web Tumblr services, of course the ClearNet Tumblr services, and of course the dark web Tumblr services are always being phished and redirected by the scammers, so be very, very careful of those. You don't want to give your money to some scammer, as you want to buy it for drugs or not. Yes, there's Bitcoin services throughout, and I mean, for example, there was a major Czech drug dealer, I believe, and he got hundreds of thousands of euros for his drugs operation, and he only got caught when it's like, we have a man trying to buy a house for 150,000 euros in Bitcoin. It's like interesting. So. Yeah, so there's a complicated system of laundering your money out of Bitcoin as well, but some people get greedy. Yes, Graham's Helix, another service. You can tumble your money directly into supporting markets. Again, another service by Graham's, maybe not even illegal, who knows. They are always trying to innovate in that area. So what have we got next? Oh, scams. Everywhere there is scams. So we have reputation scams saying, Alphabay, they took my Bitcoin, or this person didn't ship my money, and people like say, oh, fuck's sake, I'm just going to pay you off not to do this anymore, or I want to pay people to shill against my opponent's market. It's very fierce, but, we're talking internet trolling here. We're talking people saying, such and such person's a noob. They're not gunning people down in the streets. This is preferable, in my opinion. And of course, there's more scams. So we have fake blogs, fake review sites, phishing scams, the vandalized wikis and indexes, very unreliable. Don't use them. Use Wikipedia and deep.web. So everywhere there's a weakness, you'll find people preying on people trying to take your Bitcoin. But if you avoid these things, you won't. And of course, yes, we have exit scams. Exit scams are whereby a site like a market would take, Evolution, for example, took £6 million worth of Bitcoin last year, and which was holding an escrow for its vendors. And then rather than giving out to its vendors, it said, bye-bye, that's my £6 million. So the entire market collapsed, lots of vendors out of pocket, lots of consumers without their drugs, and a lot of people throwing their hands in the air. So this is terrible. We need decentralized, multi-sig, open bazaar options. And then we haven't had open bazaar yet. So actually, the reason I'm here actually is I went to an open bazaar event a couple of months ago, and I was persuading people that if open bazaar is a success, it will be flooded with drugs. And it will be. It really will be if it's good. If it's not, it's because it's not good. Yeah, what he said. Yeah. See, you asked if you want to be a darknet drug lord. Fortunately, I don't have to give the guide myself. There is a lovely internet denizen called Nachash who has written this guide, So You Want to Be a Darknet Drug Lord. And he talks about studying law enforcement agency tactics, getting legal representation, finding non-extradition countries. He doesn't recommend overpriced bulletproof hosting, which is associated with spammers. He's more about just find a VPS service which accepts Bitcoin anonymously. And accepts Tor, PGP all the things, and don't try and hire a hitman. Don't share handles and don't have common written styles, all the things which got Ross Ulbricht. This is probably my only technical slide here. This is how he recommends doing a Tor setup. People who understand Tor, this is a very secure Tor setup. This is whereby you have a marketplace and you run your own set of relay nodes. And your marketplace is configured to exclusively use your relay nodes, but the relay nodes are also relaying general Tor traffic. So if they ever de-anonymize your guard nodes, you have complete deniability that, these are just my relay nodes. I run for the good of the community. I think people have compared it to Pablo Escobar building schools and hospitals or something. But yeah, this is a very secure setup. I expect some of the major markets are doing this. This is certainly the most secure way people know to do it, and is immune to even the most sophisticated hypothetical Tor attacks right now. Okay, we actually need to have a quick walkthrough for Darknet market. I'm obviously not going to go into too much detail. This is a screenshot from Nucleus. This is one of the top markets right now. So you have a username, password, and a PIN. The reason you have a separate password and a PIN is to stop you against phishing. They do not ask for your email. They don't have an email reset procedure. This is so on login form, you never give your password and PIN at the same time. So if you ever ask your password and PIN at the same time, it's a phishing site. So this is your two-factor authentication rather than having your email. And because there are people trying to rip you off everywhere. And so this has become the de facto standard, so it's pretty good. And obviously captures because people are DDoSing sites all the time. Oh yeah, bots are always trying to DDoS. I'm going to talk about how the bots and the criminals preying on criminals meet in a minute. But absolutely yes, it's constant source of drama. It's wonderful. So here's a shot. This is the Cannabis Index site from UK to UK. So yes, you can search for I wish to buy this type of drug from this area to this area. Only people who will support escrow. There is something called finalize early, which is basically bypassing escrow, which is basically asking to be ripped off. But some people do this if they have a reliable vendor and they will bypass escrow. You can obviously check, there's even a holiday mode, so the vendors can go on holiday and they're not to get in trouble, but then they say, why aren't you shipping my stuff? Because I'm on holiday. I mean, they have everything. I'm talking about the product selection in a minute. The interface is really good. eBay could learn from this, seriously. And of course, all the vendors have wonderful feedbacks, and you can search and buy feedback. If you're doing this the first time, the first thing you want to do is buy from the most reputable vendor. Later on, you may want to buy from the cheaper vendor or the more obscure vendor, but it has something from everyone depending on your requirements, just like your eBay, Amazon market. It's a very mature marketplace that gives people what they want, and has created this wonderful consumer-driven user experience. This is great. Some of these markets support multi-sig, but it's not very popular. They don't really nudge users into doing it. I think it's in the low, under 10% of transactions are done with multi-sig. So the markets and the escrow services still hold a huge amount of power. So if they ever exit scam again, they will take people's money. But again, the huge market is split across a large amount of markets now. So the chances of that happening and severely disrupting the marketplace as a whole is reduced. So who knows? And this is constantly changing and evolving. It's very vibrant. Cool stats. So obviously we have different volumes. There's a recent study by European Drugs Agency suggested 1/4 of the purchases from dark markets were large quantities, aka quantities for resale. So this is actually where a lot of smaller, medium-time drug dealers are sourcing their shit from. So you can buy your heroin from Amsterdam, your weed from wherever, and you don't actually have to know it. And of course, this is safer in many respects because there's no fraud, there's a reputation to maintain here. You want to be known as a reputable drug dealer who supplies high-quality products, not someone who just mugs someone in a deal. It really does change the game a lot. So here's the payment screen here. So obviously, the markets themselves, you deposit your Bitcoin into the market, and then you can basically spend that money against vendors because obviously the escrow system, you don't pay the vendor directly. If you do, you'll probably get ripped off. So you pay the money into your deposit, or you might transfer this from your clean wallet through a tumbler to this, or you might even have a local Bitcoin transfer for a tumbler through this. Depends on the quantities and anonymity levels you want. And you pay in, and then obviously your deposit fills up, and then you can basically make purchases. And when you make purchases, that money goes into escrow against the vendor. And when the vendor is confirmed it's shipped, they can have the money released. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And finally, your address. Now, something I really like, so I do a separate presentation about cybercrime and carding. I really hate it when you have people steal your payment details and then they steal your address as well, because the address is required to go along with the card details. This is rubbish. Why do I have my payment information stolen like this? But it's all about deniability. So your PGP encrypt your address against the vendor's PGP key, so not against the market, but against the vendor. So you're basically putting in some encrypted text into there. So if the market is compromised or ever compromised in the future, they haven't got your information. And when the vendor gets your information, they'll decrypt that, print it onto a label, ship it to you, and most of the time they'll delete it. So they haven't got any records too. So this is a lot. Frankly, I'm very impressed by the level of privacy out here. I really wish more people would follow suit. But most people want to get your email and spam you for the end of time. Frankly, I think we need a system close to this. Yes, and then, of course, once you make your order, you wait for your drug dealer, who is, of course, your postman. So, Postman Pot. Right, here we go. So this is my rough thing I put together to illustrate the market as a whole. So on the left, Our vendor, who I've used, Heisenberg, and he has application process, so he can get a referral, he can play a bond to get on the market. The smaller markets, you don't need a referral, but they're not so reputable. And once he's on the market, he can list his products, whatever he's selling. Whilst I'm focusing on drugs, we're also doing stolen data and other sort of fraud services as well. So then we have our user, who I've represented by Shaggy, who is a notorious stoner, and he places order, Bitcoin into escrow, and after which then this gets released from this vendor ships a product. When it's released from escrow, he gives positive, negative feedback, and if there's a dispute, he can get a refund. And I say the dispute. I mean, if it's seized by law enforcement, he can get a refund as well, because people are very suspicious that people will be what's called selectively scamming them. So, when law enforcement does take them, they'll give refunds, they'll give reshipped, they'll do anything to get their 99% rating like eBay, and because that keeps them in business. And what great customer service that is. When was the last time, well, I don't want to ask when was the last time a drug dealer gave you a free thing, but yeah, it's when you have this reputation regulation system, it really changes the game what it is. And again, so I'm including multi-sig in this, though it is supported in place of the Bitcoin thing, but it's not very popular, it hasn't got huge uptake. Sorry I can't really show this in detail. This is my fantastic infographic by a data scientist called Ryan Compton. This is a visualization of the evolution marketplace by product. Now, you have to take my word from this, what I'm pointing at here, I'm afraid to say. So basically, this is drugs, and this is not drugs. So he's basically shown that vendors specialize in, so basically here's the MDMA and weed sellers, here's people selling GHB, here's people doing opioids, here's people working in other, I think we've got more cannabis derivatives over there. So he's basically showing that there are very specializations. And then we've also got people here selling stolen credit card data, specialisms. We've got people selling apparel and phone covers and actual legal goods. Look, legality. And people selling ebooks and erotica and SIM cards, and people doing... Well, this is the bit where they do melee and explosives. Now, weapons dealers have the worst reputations of all of the Darknet because, ridiculous amounts of them are law enforcement. So this is good because no one trusts them, and therefore very little money is exchanged through these. Unless you're in Ukraine, in which case you can buy bombs and tanks in Ukraine, but that's a separate thing. Okay. So if you want to find more about how this little bit fits into the data theft and carding, I have a separate presentation about this. It's available on my blog, and it's kind of a whole other story. This intersects with this market almost tangentially. Okay, I'm going to show you some more actors here. What if you cross Omar from The Wire with Mr. Robot? You get this guy called Robotasun. This guy's fun. This guy is a small tool hacking collective. What he does is he extorts money for markets for bitcoins. So he basically DDoSes them and says, give us all your bitcoin, give us a bunch of bitcoin, or we'll keep DDoSing you. And of course, when the market's down, you still have a buyer base. If the market's down, the buyers are going to go elsewhere, and people start losing orders fast, and they pay up. And sometimes this guy would extort markets, and people would say, no, let me extort my competitors. And there's wonderful stories whereby a market owner was outed as a scammer working with Roboto-san, and then his name is Mud, and he tried to rebrand his market, and he couldn't rebrand his market, and he tried to sell it, and he couldn't sell it. And yeah, this is great. Yeah, so I don't know whether this guy's doing a public service or not, but secondary market. It's important to know. Brian Krebs. Brian Krebs. So, how many cybercrime researchers do you know? I know one, Brian Krebs. He's a former journalist at the Washington Post, and he mostly deals in hacking and fraud services rather than drugs. But so he's really hated amongst the cyber crips. They really hate him because he's always infiltrating their forums and posting screenshots and doing reviews and saying how amateurish they are. They really hate him. So what they decided to do, some enterprising fraudsters got together one day, say, right, we hate Krebs. We're going to everyone put in your Bitcoin. Right, I'm going to send him some heroin. Right? So they all chipped him. They've got, put in the bin. They sent a medium amount of heroin to his house and tipped off the cops. Now, being Brian Krebs, he was already in the forum, and he was And he was watching people as they were having this conversation, putting it together, and watching in real time. This is interesting. Oh, so it's your idea, and such and such and such. So he'd obviously tipped off the cops that this is happening, etc., etc. And he knew who the ringleader was. And then he was tracking the ringleader because he found out his Twitter. And when the ringleader went on holiday to Greece, he got him extradited to the US to stand trial. So yes, it's I do rate Brian Krebs. He's awesome. And a lot of people read this and said, I wish my enemies would send me drugs for the post. Yeah. Okay, so in summary, as of the last formal report was done about these markets in summer 2015, and at that time there were 68,000 different drug listings across all different markets. I'm sure we're dealing with over hundreds of thousands of listings now, bearing the turnover. Think how many sales that mean. Right? The market as a whole is worth millions. I wouldn't be surprised if it's reaching a billion by now, but it's very hard to estimate the total size. The user base is growing. The markets are growing. The markets are becoming more sophisticated. The vendors are becoming more sophisticated. The vendors are growing. It's a massive, massive growth area. In many areas, the products can be up to 75% cheaper. The purity is much, much higher, much, much better regulated for consistency. The violence and fraud associated with drug purchases is massively, massively reduced. You have people arguing on the internet instead. And I would argue this is teaching people about Bitcoin as well. But whether that's a good thing or not, that's up to you. So yeah, that's it. So facts and fictions. I hope you've learned about hitmen and live stream murder and Bitcoin secrets. Not true. And Bitcoin services and all the drugs are very much true. And Bitcoin is a part of cybercrime. Own it and accept it. I say that because you can buy all the drugs on the internet. Thank you much. I'm done.